Hi, welcome back to Trade Tips. I'm Freddie Victoria and this is my father Tony Victoria. Today we're going to be discussing some of the basic elements of French chairs and their different styles. While it may be debatable, we certainly believe that some of the best designs for furniture and chairs in particular occurred in France in the late 17th century and throughout the 18th century. And there's no better person to talk about that than my father Tony, who's an expert in 18th century French chairs.
Here we have a Louis XIV style chair, and I'm sure you know Louis XIV was always interested in projecting his power and sovereignty. Louis XIV style basically took its design palette from the architectural design notebook. And so you have a very high, fully rectilinear back, you have a very strong, powerful, fully forward thrusting arm, you have legs that are joined at right angles to the frame, and then reinforced by a stretcher, which, although decorative, had a functional purpose as well, because the joinery techniques of the time were not as fully evolved as they are later on in the 18th century. Finally, you see there is some decoration that is somewhat floral, but it is completely controlled by the very strong moldings that frame and encompass them. Here we have a Louis XV style chair. This one of the nicest that I've ever had, is by a man named Etienne Saint-Georges. As you can see immediately, the scale has come down a lot, reflecting the more intimate, less formal functions of rooms at the time. This chair dates from about 1750-55. The other thing that you'll notice too is that the rectilinearity of the previous period is completely gone, because the architectural sourcing of design has been replaced by a natural sourcing of design. As a result, since nature has no right angles and no straight lines, everything is curvilinear. The decoration too is natural. Flowers that meander and sort of overlap all the framing elements of the previous period, these moldings, even slightly asymmetrical. Another thing you'll notice is that the legs are no longer joined at right angles to the side rails, but turn out and have a cabriole shape to them. Finally, you'll see that the arm post no longer is right over the leg, but has been pulled back to allow for evolutions in ladies' fashions, they say. And finally, one of the key elements of the quality of a Louis XV chair is the grace with which the arm flows into the arm post and then into the side rail. Here we have a Louis XVI style chair, and as you can see, the scale has stayed the same as previously, but the entire design element has been changed because it's neoclassical, and that means that architecture has returned to be the primary influence. Everything about this is neoclassical. The design has a forward thrusting arm that ends over the front leg, the legs are turned and fluted, the decoration is acanthus leaves and little rosettes, and even here you have little oak leaf clusters and ribbons. Nothing about this is natural, everything about it is architectural, neoclassical. In between the Louis XIV and Louis XV periods, there was a transitional period called Régence. Here we have a smaller scale chair, which is basically still quite rectilinear in configuration. Yes, there's shape to it, but it's stiff. The fluidity of the Louis XV period has not been fully achieved. So you have a leg which is beginning to show a cabriolet shape. You have an arm which is withdrawn, but still quite straight. The arm post is just beginning to turn out. The junction of the arm post and the side rail is still quite stiff, and the decoration is all reflective of the Sun King motif in the form of a shell. There was a transitional period between Louis XV and Louis XVI, but it's actually quite rare to have examples, and we don't really have a good one to show you. But I can tell you that basically what happens is that as they tried to figure out the new form, they kept the old form and overlaid the new decoration. So instead of flowers and petals, you would have neoclassical motifs applied to a Louis XV shape. One of the main things that they had to work out at this time was how to make the joint between the arm and the arm post graceful when it hit the side rail. And although this example is quite typical, I'm sure you will agree that the return to the Louis XIV solution, where the arm ended right over the leg, is much more successful. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Trade Tips, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.